Okay guys, today we're going to look at linear equations. We're going to look at two different forms of linear equations that we've looked at before. The first one is going to be slope-intercept form, probably the most commonly used form of a linear equation. Reminder, linear equation is an equation that is going to graph as a straight line. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b is the standard kind of form of that. And then I have an example here, y equals 2x plus 1. And the reason this is useful is when you look at slope-intercept form, you know a lot about your graph. You know that 1 is your y-intercept, which is where your line is going to cross your y-axis. And you know that 2 is going to be your slope of your line. And so there's a lot of useful information there, especially when it comes to graphing. Standard form, it works a little bit differently. The standard form of it is ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are numbers or values. And so you've got, for an example, 3x plus 4y equals 12 would be in standard form. And the key to standard form is you have your x and y on one side, and your equation is solved for a constant, which in this case is 12. And it's useful for things like systems of equations and other things like that. And so the primary purpose of this video is I want to show you how you convert from one form to another depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to graph it and it's in standard form, it would probably be easier if it was in slope-intercept form. So for example, on this one, I have 6x plus 3y equals 24, and I want to convert that to slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form hinges on being solved for y. So I'm going to try and isolate the y variable. So starting off, I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides of my equation. 6x minus 6x is 0. I'm left with 3y equals 24 minus 6x. Then from there, to continue isolating that y variable, I can divide by 3. And in doing that, I have to divide every part of my equation by 3. So I'm left with y equals 24 divided by 3 is 8. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2x. Okay, and this is slope-intercept form. Some people are more comfortable writing the x and the coefficient first. So if you chose to do that, it would be negative 2x plus 8. But either way is fine. And of course, looking at this, you now know when you graph this line, your slope is going to be negative 2, and your y-intercept is going to be 8. And so this is the process for converting standard form to slope-intercept form. It's all about isolating the y variable. Now, in some instances, you may actually want to go the other direction and take something that's in slope-intercept form and go ahead and convert that to standard form. And in doing that, this is about getting that x and y on the same side of your equal sign and isolating your constant, which in this case is going to be at negative 6. So the process I'm going to use for that, I'm going to begin by subtracting 5x from both sides. Now, one of the key concepts in this idea of converting these from one form to the other is you have to have a really good understanding of like terms. Like terms, for example, I have negative 5x and then I have a positive y. I see people a lot of times try to combine these in some way. Those are not like terms. They don't have the same variable. In order to be like terms, something has to have the same variable and exponent before you can begin adding or subtracting them together. So I'm simply going to leave this as negative 5x plus y. On the right side of my equal sign, I'm left with my negative 6. And there is my standard form. So I hope this helps for those of you that may be having difficulty with this. There are certainly other forms of linear equations. Point-slope form comes to mind particularly, but standard and slope-intercept form are two of the more commonly used, and this is how you go from one to the other.